Welcome to Burnt Out Paradise. This is the first game of the day and spawning in the north as the Cyan Empire. This is... This is Magmageddon. Remember how I said this was a 6-player game? It's not a 6-player game anymore. And playing the yellow, this is haluk. It looks like this is an FFA, so it is going to be 5 random players. Playing the orange, this is katafalkx. And scrolling down a little bit further to the south, that was the red. djamal or djamal or something. That was the red Soviet player. Playing as the green allies, this is GreenAlert. And rounding it out as the blue allies, this is GB 60111. I feel like that guy's always changing his name. And yes, we do already have one player defeated. djamal left the game right at the start, so just a few seconds in, and we're already down to 5 players. By the way, with this stream, we are also doing a little bit of a stress test, so let me know how things are doing. Let me know how things are sounding. I did some testing the other day, and I think I got everything dialed in, but I don't actually know if I did. So we are still testing here. We think we've got it all figured out, and then something inevitably goes wrong. Magmageddon coming up, and of course with djamal defeated, this leaves GreenAlert and katafalkx with a potential big opening. They've got 2 or 3 more refineries, which are relatively easy to secure, and they're going to have an easy time of expanding their economy like that. And yeah, it looks like GreenAlert was already thinking that. The burst drone is on top of that harvester, but GreenAlert eventually will slowly make his way up to that high ground and will be able to expand to this double refinery, and then could potentially bring his MCV over if he wants to expand slightly differently. Water refinery already taken, naval yard there as well, so no easy terror drone locations. But with a 4th refinery here and then 2 high ground refineries, that is 6 pretty defensible refinery locations for GreenAlert. And GreenAlert, at this point, is by far the best 1v1er of any of these players in this game. This replay is a little bit old, so maybe he wasn't in quite tip-top shape back then. Maybe he was a little bit more assailable. But certainly in the last year and a half, GreenAlert has put up some great games, some really strong 1v1 performances. So when you've got a situation where a 6-player FFA turns into a 5-player FFA, and the player who most easily benefits from the economy bonus is the best 1v1er, it's not necessarily looking very good for everyone else in the game. We'll see how it goes. Okay. And then there were 4. I'm not sure what's happening to the network connection in this game, but katafalkx now has the best situation possible, other than now kind of being next door to GreenAlert via this expansion and this MCV move. Cat is in a fantastic spot of having 2 open bases next to them. They could pretty easily take these refineries, this refinery, maybe even this one in the middle. And of course, that leaves a garage in a pretty safe spot, a dry dock, and then another garage. So all of these expansion possibilities, hospital is a little bit more contested, but all of these expansion possibilities are very easy to claim. GreenAlert does have a garage, and it is going to be Tengu's trying to contest this high ground. It does take Tengu's quite a little while to be able to cut through that armor of the building. And he's going to set up another command post immediately. He doesn't want to lose the build radius. He wants the opportunity to finish off whatever he's building. Possibly you might as well kill it. I mean, Now it just repaired. So now he was just able to place down that multi-gunner turret a little bit more quickly. Eventually, it does go down. But because it wasn't killed off immediately, he didn't have to wait for the other command post to actually finish building before constructing that multi-gunner turret. So that will be kind of an easy high ground secure for GreenAlert. And again, everyone else playing pretty passively. You don't want to... Why did he sell off one power plant and place another power plant? You don't want to be giving the guy who's the best 1v1er in the game a big advantage for the time being of just having free reign on all of this economy. MCV expanding out to the corner. This is going to be a lot of refineries. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 refineries potentially out here for GreenAlert. Although, if he doesn't start producing something relatively soon, he's not going to be doing much with the 28,000 credits that he has harvested so far. He's got 28 grand, and he has spent almost every single dollar of it. Everyone else is sitting somewhere around 10k total resources gathered, except for haluk, who is up at 26,000 total resources gathered. So haluk has expanded relatively quickly as well, taking 4 refineries, deploying a Tesla coil, which can be very easily bombed out from the high ground. Other than GB has not gone for an airfield. These are kind of bizarre builds starting out from these players. GreenAlert gets the engineer cap of that oil derrick. A pretty slow start because there were 2 players who left the game immediately, so some of these early structures didn't get captured right away. Ore refinery comes up at the expansion. Cat, who in theory has the easiest time expanding as Empire, hasn't actually taken full use of all of these available expansions. And Cat may not even realize that this player in the north was also the one who left the game early. And so Cat actually has a very easy extra expansion to take. Perhaps not even realizing it. GreenAlert, who has now harvested almost 45,000 credits, is still below 500 in the bank. This guy is just spending every dollar that comes in, and yet doesn't have some kind of massive ground army. It's all in infrastructure. He's starting to build some things, but a lot of it is in multi-gunner turrets, in expansions, in just keeping the base growing, and not so much in building a big army. And the economy is looking fantastic for GreenAlert. Nearly 10k per minute. He just crossed over the 10k per minute mark. One Tengu going for a bit of a scout is going to be able to get some damage onto this harvester, and it will be helped by the burst drone. Burst drone maybe even splashing that Mecha Tengu a little bit, but of course the harvesters, everyone has a garage at this point. Actually, GB6000 may not have a garage. No, there is a garage available. So green and yellow, or blue and yellow, don't have garages taken. However, they do have garages available to them, and they just have not captured them yet. So unfortunately, those 2 players, no garages just yet, but there are lots of garages available, and everyone else, they're just going to be healing up those units extremely quickly. Multi-gunner turret will be able to take down this Tengu. Well, not if it flies away. Javelins are going to be chasing it down, but it can escape over to the water. 1v4. Sent out, fires a missile, and then backs off, apparently, and says, hey! Oh, okay. Athena cannons from the high ground. They take down the Tesla coil, and now they're starting to chip away at the other buildings as well. GB looking to expand his territory. GreenAlert, on the other hand, still expanding territory as well. Double MCV finally up and running, a 3rd and a 4th MCV as well. So 4 build queues here for GreenAlert. And this is the power of 10k per minute. This is the power of now 13k per minute. This is the power of someone who is just left alone to do whatever they want. MCV on the move away from those Athena cannons. Tengus go for the transform. GreenAlert getting surrounded here. And maybe a couple of javelins inside of this building. But that is more than enough Tengus to deal with them. Now the power plant comes online, but I feel like, where is the war factory? Okay, there is an airfield. Of course, there is a naval yard down here that's just producing MCVs. Once again, GreenAlert now at 14K per minute, and yet has basically $0 in the bank constantly. It's not something that you expect from a player who has 14K per minute. Proton Collider out on the field. Drydock being targeted down by a lot of Yari mini-subs. And double Spectrum Tower. Once again, it is low power mode for GreenAlert. So you better get things back online before all of these Yaris show up and just blitz down his buildings. Power plants getting targeted immediately. 2 of them at once will be going down in very short order. Yari mini-subs getting frozen in place, and there's the second power plant going down, but there's enough electricity to keep things running. The Yari mini-subs have pretty much all gone down. The last one falls, and GreenAlert holds the line without lifting a finger. Barely has to do anything, calls in a cryo shot, and that is just about it. Engineer gets sniped as he heads down to the low ground. Probably would have been better to redirect him there. And 2 minutes, 20 seconds on the chronosphere for GreenAlert, so you better watch out. Double Spectrum Tower going to be able to blast through some of these Tengus. The point defense drones, they help, but that is not a recipe for success. Tengus don't do well versus those buildings, and they will start chunking away at this MCV. Looks like a couple of base defenses are ready to go. That's going to buy some more time for GreenAlert to get some actual units nearby. Although, is he going pure? I am now wondering if he is essentially going pure buildings. He's got infantry inside of structures, but other than that, he is going just for pure base defenses and seeing if he can turret push his way to victory. Might have to sell off some of those structures at this point just to free up some electricity. 2 twin blades, the bane of an allied player's existence, and it's not often that things get past the 10-minute mark, and 2 twin blades are really a scary army for one of the players to deal with. And still, no one has expanded up here into Cyan's old base. Somewhat surprising that it has not been taken by anyone. Multi-gunner turrets on the high ground. GreenAlert expanding to both sides of the center high ground right there in the middle of the map, and he is going to take it all with 5 or 6 or however many MCVs he has at this point. He has so many build queues that it's hard to stop. When you can deploy multiple multi-gunner turrets and spectrum towers all at the same time, it can be difficult to stop unless you have got the units and the control to match it. Tier 3 on a war factory and a barracks does mean that perhaps something like a Tanya drop could be effective on the other side of the map, but with 30 seconds on the chronosphere, I don't know that anyone is going to be able to pull that off in the next 30 seconds. MCV heading out onto the water, going to be pushing that build radius further and further forward. And yeah, this is an MCV which looks undefended, but as soon as he deploys, there's probably 3 or 4 multi-gunner turrets that are ready to be deployed as well. Spectrum Tower, multi. 3 multi-gunner turrets and a Spectrum Tower. So do you want to try and focus fire on the MCV? That was the answer, but it wasn't the correct one, as Naginata cruisers coming in. They should be able to finish the job. They'll be able to shut down the build radius, but the chronosphere catches a couple of them onto land. 2 or 3 get deleted, and the rest will have to deal with these multi-gunner turrets and with the Spectrum Tower. But shot after shot comes out, and they just don't have the damage to deal with these buildings. 1 last Spectrum Tower stands and 1 multi-gunner turret in range of those units, and GreenAlert crushes the expansion of Cat. You may have units, you may have expansions, but it's nothing against the turret pushing power of GreenAlert. 2 fresh Naginata cruisers show up, and well, they finally do dislodge these multi-gunner turrets. A command hub comes up as well. They should be able to shut this down with the fresh reinforcements coming in, but this does mean that Cat is now strapped for cash, and meanwhile GreenAlert is expanding on both sides of the map at the same time. Blue and yellow, haluk and GB, they are fighting each other, not realizing the dragon that sleeps on the south of the map, expanding into perhaps all corners, trying to create a ring of unassailable turret defenses, as GreenAlert is going to be, I think, just taking the map over slowly, piece by piece. Cryo Blast going to be firing off, catches 4 or 5 of these Tengus as the multi-gunner turrets come up, the Spectrum Towers as well. They delete the Empire forces of Cat. Honorable Discharge does take down the refinery. You gotta take your victories where you can get them. There isn't much else left. A garage has been taken by haluk, and that does mean that those APOCs get additional healing. They can go for the kill on some of these Athena cannons, but this final Athena cannon may get just enough damage off to kill that APOC before the Twin Blades cut her down. Goodbye, Athena cannon. Vacuum imploder, 5 minutes on the clock, but about 30 seconds until the Proton Collider is ready to go. GB is looking pretty slim. I think he's going to be the lowest income player who is still in the game at this point. I guess the first 2 guys who tapped out, who disconnected early on, those are really the low income players. But other than that, it's not looking good for GB's chances. And I guess GreenAlert is just going to try the all turret pressure. And I don't know if that's totally going to work. MCV expanding out onto the land. APOC tanks are here in force, but some Spectrum Towers might need to go out onto the water to be able to hold off these APOC tanks. And GreenAlert is going to have to contend with Shogun battleships on one side and APOC tanks on the other. One APOC tank spawns in a terror drone, and the others escape the chronosphere for now. Where was it? Proton Collider on top of the Shogun battleships didn't really do anything? Where did the Proton Collider actually get used? Did he really throw it on top of, like, a couple of Shogun battleships and that was it? Maybe it was a misclick. Green versus the Carville players. That's pretty right, because a lot of these guys, we do see them on Carville quite a lot, and GreenAlert getting very lucky that no one tried to fight him for the first, like, 10 or 15 minutes of this game, and now they're suddenly realizing the cost of their mistake. The MCV goes on to the high ground, and that may be the death knell for this MCV. I'm not sure if he can... Oh, he can heal through the terror drone damage, so he can eventually get back to a place to repair. But if he doesn't have build radius, he can't drop like an airfield or anything to give him repairs. He can't get the build radius because of the MCV. He has to go somewhere else that he does have build radius, and then he can get the healing out and deal with that terror drone. Unless he's got a dolphin on the way. I'm not sure what his plan is, but the magnetic harpoon will be the end of this MCV. The magnetic harpoon, you just activate. You can, or you just shoot it. Yeah, shoot it. Okay, now double magnetic harpoon might be the end of this MCV. Can the MCV heal through the magnetic harpoon? A terror drone and the magnetic harpoon means nothing to this MCV? What? That is absolutely insane. And yeah, GreenAlert currently sitting at 40k in the bank. The other APOC tank switches back to his guns, and that is not something you see every day. An MCV healing through a terror drone and a magnetic harpoon needed the extra bit of damage from somewhere else to be able to deal with that. 30 seconds on the clock for the next chronosphere. 1 minute 30 on the clock for the vacuum imploder. This little collage of Spectrum Towers is not apparently in range of these buildings. Javs go onto the high ground. They shred the expansion. I think there was an MCV there as well. GreenAlert finding himself stretched a little bit thin. The more players that he kills off, the fewer players there are for everyone to fight. So if he kills someone off like GB, then that means yellow is focused solely on fighting green. Yellow doesn't have another player to fight. Like at the current moment, this Tesla coil is going to clean up quite a few of these jabs, and the APOC tank not going for the crush is just going to be engaging in a gunfight with the jabs. And now the Javs can turn their attention to that Tesla coil. And this vacuum imploder may not even be a threat to GreenAlert, because GB might be clearing it out for him as the V4 finds shot after shot, and the magnetic harpoon is no use here, but the grinding treads of these tanks will make short work of these Javs. A couple of more shots from these jabs to finish off that vacuum imploder. The APOC tanks are not engaging in the fight. It's the V4 from off screen firing those shots that actually saves the vacuum imploder and keeps it in the game. The MCV heads up to the high ground. The Spectrum Tower goes down, but can you stop the MCV from deploying? Once it deploys, that's pretty much the end of all things. The Javelin closing the distance and stopping that MCV from being able to deploy. It is a dangerous game to play, and eventually GreenAlert gets the spacing that he needs. One Spectrum Tower, two Spectrum Towers. All right, that might be it. Even if you get the MCV, the Spectrum Towers can deal with everything else. It might actually not be in range of the MCV of his opponent, but it can be now. 5 multi-gunner turrets, 2 Spectrum Towers deployed immediately. GreenAlert's wrath has been wrought upon GB, and GB, he shredded one expansion, but he will pay for it with his life. Multi-gunner turrets means the MCV can't even really escape as the War Factory gets targeted. This is pretty much lights out for our first legitimate kill of the game. A conscript gets called in, and the final squadron on the left side of the map will be targeting GreenAlert's expansion. 1 down, 2 to go, as GreenAlert's turret madness will be slowed down by the vacuum imploder landing on those power plants. And not a moment too soon, because GreenAlert can now sell off all of this stuff on the high ground as GB has been defeated. Cat and Haluk, I feel like they both have an opportunity to win the game, but they sort of need the other one to take the attention of GreenAlert. Like, if GreenAlert is focused on one of these players, it's possible the other one could come in. Maybe not with this army. Infantry are pretty bad versus Spectrum Towers, but the other player could come in with Shogun battleships, some kind of artillery, and just clear away huge swaths of GreenAlert's territory. But if GreenAlert is focused on that player, then the Chronosphere, the Proton Collider, all of these things come into play. Proton Collider landing on the Shogun battleships, it's actually less effective than the Chronosphere, but guess what? The Chronosphere is here as well. 4 of them get teleported onto land, 1 of them fully heroic as well. And guess what? It's a lot easier to deal with these Shogun battleships when there's 4 fewer of them for you to deal with. The MCV can't get particularly close. Engineer does get produced to try and heal up that MCV, but guess what isn't around anymore to be healed? It's going to be the MCV. 60K in the bank for GreenAlert. 23K per minute. Every minute that goes by, he gets another 23,000 credits in his bank account. And of course, as some of these expansions start depleting out, 1,500 left there. Depleted. Probably depleted. Yeah, depleted. We have 3 refineries at least that are all depleted. So as some of these main bases start drying up, that number is going to dwindle all the way down from 23K per minute to a measly, pathetic 10 grand per minute as some of these ore nodes go depleted. But he has so many ore nodes under his control. I still cannot believe that yellow and orange have not taken these 4 refineries that are right there, central and in prime location. GreenAlert, on the other hand, can lose so many refineries and so many expansions and still have more to play with. He can sell off half of his base defenses that he just constructed and have a fresh load of cash to deploy even more. He's still got 40 grand in the bank. So many MCVs in the south that he had to build a second naval yard, a third naval yard, just to produce them more quickly. C9Q9MD once said, I can do it with only multi-gunner turrets, and GreenAlert said, I can do it, but better. This FFA really did turn into GreenAlert versus the world, and it doesn't know, and it remains to be seen who is actually going to win. Two independent, uncoordinated players, or GreenAlert by himself. Twin Blades flying out. Power plants targeted down. Cryogeddon called in. Point defense drones get immediately evaporated. 2 Shoguns. But is there anything to kill them? The MCV deploys. Multi-gunner turrets get called in. So many multi-gunner turrets. And this just needs to buy a little bit of time for the MCV to move even further forward, as GreenAlert has 15 seconds on the clock until the next chronosphere. So these two boats, they may be able to escape the fire that is coming at them for the current moment, but they won't be able to escape the might of the chronosphere. Multi-gunner turret deployed all the way up there. So many multi-gunner turrets deployed, and now the chronosphere ready to go as well. Do you wait for the juicy shot, or do you just take out one guaranteed target right away? Well, you don't need to, because the multi-gunner turrets managed to do it. The MCV could actually be sniped here. If he gets vision on the MCV while it's moving, he can grab it and teleport it into the middle of those units. Chronosphere onto the high ground, and the precision bomber will take down the V4. Natasha, she's going to have a lot of targets to aim at. The Twin Blade goes down, and she is now caught behind enemy lines. She doesn't escape. Not from the V4, or not from the multi-gunner turret. Harvester is offline. It's only got 3 grand left in that ore mine, but it is still 3 grand to put in the bank, although he could get a lot more than that just by selling off a bunch of these turrets. 28 grand in the bank still for GreenAlert, and the question becomes, do you try to focus on one of these players, knock them out completely, leave nothing left, or do you try to alternate so that you split up your attacks between 2 fronts, splitting your strength but also splitting the amount that you have to kill all at once, and leaving both players weakened over time? Sentry bombers now coming out. 2 airfields full of sentry bombers. GreenAlert has determined that it might be time to build some actual units, as there are 4 more airfields, all with sentry bombers. Well, we don't know. Maybe all with sentry bombers, as that's a good way to delete 30 grand real quick. Vacuum imploder is ready to go. 50 seconds on the clock until the proton collider. Ooh. Tank Buster Surprise shows up. MCV unpacks near the Empire base. What do you actually have to deal with this? Is there build radius nearby? There is build radius, but that might be the end. The repair drone, the repair tool came out way too late. GreenAlert not realizing that he was needing the repair right there that quickly. Well, that's the end of the Proton Collider for now. Final Squadron also getting called in. Vacuum Imploder has yet to find a target, but with GreenAlert's base, how do you even choose a target? There are so many targets to go for. The bombing run from the campaign is here. You wish you could call this in on some of those missions, but it is just the end of the Empire base. And yet the Tier 3 Mecha Bay survives. So everything goes down, but not that Tier 3 Mecha Bay. And with GreenAlert, which base do you hit? I mean, if you want absolute value, then maybe you go for one of these airfield clusters, because the Sentry Bombers cost 2 grand each. But even if you take out 2 airfields of sentry bombers, GreenAlert still has 16k per minute to rebuild them. Fresh expansion, fresh turrets coming up. The vacuum imploder isn't going to have a lot of chances left to lock on to a target. The twin blades will be able to find a target, and it's going to be the vacuum imploder perhaps used on... No, it's going to be the satellite drop used on the proton collider. And the twin blades could commit themselves in, and the chrono shift saves the MCV because the twin blades forgot to continue attacking it. Cryogeddon gets called in. The vacuum imploder still hasn't been utilized. And meanwhile, tank busters and wave force artillery onto the high ground are going to be pushing GreenAlert back just a little bit. That was a bold place to put that proton collider. We'll see if it works out. Sentry bombers coming in. That's a lot for a little. 3 wave force artillery and 5 or 6 tank busters, all from those sentry bombers. Natasha better hope that she can find a safe place to hide. The MCV goes down, but the vacuum imploder survives. Natasha takes a couple of hits there, and that will be it for her. I think those sentry bombers were just set on like attack stands and just sent in. Vacuum imploder still has not been utilized. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 multi-gunner turrets all called in. Maybe 10 or even 11 multi-gunner turrets. And the vacuum imploder finally gets utilized. It'll smash the multi-gunner turrets. It may even help on that proton collider, but it will not stop GreenAlert. Cat has been defeated. The Empire player on the other side of the map falls. And it is now GreenAlert versus haluk. 10 grand in the bank would normally indicate that haluk would be in a position to win this game, but not when you consider that GreenAlert has climbed over 500,000 total resources gathered. Absolute insanity here from GreenAlert, and the sentry bombers dropping their bombs on absolutely everything, and yet not accomplishing very much. Bombs split up between so many targets. Bullfrogs are going to run out of ammunition before GreenAlert runs out of sentry bombers. End of the game, they can't even run out of ammunition, but that is still how many sentry bombers he has. Twin blades, the ultimate tool of the Soviet player. The sentry bomber can do nothing versus them. He's just going to have to wait and pop about 30 multi-gunner turrets to take them all down. Another power plant open and exposed. The only possible hope would be killing enough power plants, but GreenAlert has 4,550 units of available power, and he's only using 3,800 of that, so he has got more than enough to spare. Multi-gunner turrets finally targeting down those twin blades. One by one they fall, and they may have claimed another power plant, but that will do it. Our first game of the day is wrapped up. And here we are on Magmageddon for game number 2 of the day. In the top left-hand corner, playing the Purple Allies, and I believe this is an FFA, this is SillyOP. Playing the Blue Empire, this is Zaid. And in the south, playing the Green Soviets, it's GreenAlert. Meanwhile, in the bottom right-hand corner, playing the yellow, this is Dachi. Or Dachi. Playing the cyan, it's Grave. And rounding out this 6-player game as the Orange Allies, it's TripleK up here in the top right-hand corner. 6 players in the game. Once again, it looks like we are in an FFA here to kick off the day. 2 FFAs in a row and a lot of wall segments from GreenAlert. I guess the one advantage for him is if he goes for another goofy build, he does at least have access to the cranes. So we can utilize the crane build queues pretty much from the beginning of the game. You don't have to deploy full-on MCVs for the additional build queues. Mecha Bay on the way. Everybody getting underway pretty much immediately. And fortunately for this game, no early disconnects. Although we are only a minute and 45 into the game. So maybe there are still some disconnects to come. Vindicators heading on out. MCV unpacks. Expansions coming up for pretty much everyone. You got to get that early third refinery locked in pretty early. I feel like on Magmageddon it is so common to take that third refinery before the 3-minute mark. Almost everybody does it in that time. Maybe Purple is lagging a little bit behind here. SillyOP is prioritizing infantry and an airfield over that third refinery timing. But pretty much everyone else, they want to get that third refinery up. You get the oil derrick, you get the third refinery, you've got a pretty solid base from that point forward. Couple of jabs, couple of riptides coming on out. Tesla Coil is going to be getting targeted down. One of these jabs could even be could switch over to laser lock mode, kill it even more quickly. Barracks is here, and the wall segments need to be dropped down. The riptides can cut down a lot of units as they come out of the barracks, but it will get shut down before it even gets constructed. And now no more body blocks, it looks like, as these jabs may be switching over to that laser lock mode. 3 bears are here. The roar could shut this attack down entirely, and it's going to be into the riptides. The bears are going to have to run away. The riptides don't kill bears super quickly, but the bears just cannot do anything against that. And of course, a couple of laser locks will shut down this super reactor. Whether or not this Tesla Coil finishes, the super reactor will be going down. One bear gets a kill, but the other bear gets eliminated. And with only 3... it doesn't even matter. With only 3 firing, it's still more than enough. And suddenly the tech reset happens here for Grave. Little bit of aggression comes in from Dachi, and it's just the end of Graves' early game. He can rebuild all of this stuff. The crane survives. He can rebuild the super reactor. He can re-expand to that MCV location. And perhaps this has left Dachi a little bit exposed. GreenAlert bringing a little bit of danger here, but the Terror Drone is all that's left. The Stingray goes down, and the Riptides are more than enough with the help of that multi-gunner turret to deal with that. And of course, the danger of an FFA is that as soon as you turn in one direction, you leave yourself open and exposed in the other direction. 2 bullfrogs are here, and that'll actually be enough. So those Chopper VXs could potentially have committed in if they wanted to give all of their lives to kill that super reactor. They may have been able to get it, just staying out of range of the bullfrogs, dancing around these walls to get the kill. And ultimately, Zaid decides, you know what? It's not worth it. That is not going to be how I want to spend my time. And in the end, he just backs on off. Bear gets killed. Riptide standing guard. MCV re-expands to this location. 3rd refinery coming, actually 4th refinery coming back online for Grave. Chopper VXs crossing the map once again. No Apollos here, just Vindicators. So SillyOP is looking completely exposed here. The Vindicators get off the deck, but it just doesn't matter when you've got the Tengus here ready to go. The Chopper VXs have a very easy time of cleaning everything else up and send all the Peacekeepers you want. That is not going to do much versus this army. That actually might just be it for SillyOP. Our first player of the game might be out purely from a couple of Chopper VXs that slowly meandered into the back door of his base. GreenAlert, on the other hand, having a lot of trouble just producing a single Stingray at a time. Can't deal with these Riptides very quickly. And no, the Vindicator actually goes for the Naval Yard. He doesn't go for the Stingray. So the Riptide does end up going down. And, well, when the Vindicators ignore the Stingrays, then the Riptide does eventually fall. Chopper VX is chasing that MCV down, and SillyOP may be having a bit of a realization here that there just isn't much to do. One Chopper VX may get crushed, a second one in danger of going down, but ultimately this MCV can't do a whole lot versus the units in the air, and that will do it for SillyOP. The MCV goes down, And 1, 2, 3 refineries. Not much more for the purple allied player. Still in the game. Vindicator's getting sniped. Tengu's ranking up from that. Just, you know, happy to get a little bit more experience on these Tengus as they fight against defenseless opponents. Refinery under assault. The Harvester goes down. One Peacekeeper going to be fighting for his life, but it's not going to be a very long one. Dachi and GreenAlert going to be facing off in sort of a 1v1 in the south. The Harvester does go down. Blue and purple also facing off in a 1v1, but that is an extremely one-sided 1v1 as Zaid just completely smashes SillyOP. SillyOP technically can still produce units. Those command posts can be sold off for a Peacekeeper as long as you keep them on land. And other than that, SillyOP is just harvesting, is just siphoning off money from the map. So all of these refineries are going to be depleted a little bit sooner than they otherwise would have. And, of course, the 10 grand in his bank is just going to evaporate out of the map. So he is siphoning off a little bit of cash, which would potentially hurt Zaid and TripleK, but that is going to hurt them such an incredibly small amount in the large scheme of things that I don't know that it'll make a difference. But the other opportunity is that SillyOP may be able to just survive if he sticks like a command post in the corner or something. If he manages to get a command hub out and just sticks it in the corner and then waits out, he could make it, you know, to like the second to last player in the game without really doing anything, just by falling asleep at his keyboard. Peacekeeper is just chasing away these refinery cores. Well, they're just gonna leave for now. Where are the chopper VXs? Where's the army of Zaid? He could crush this very easily. He's choosing not to. There may be an element of this game in the chat that we are missing somewhat, since replays do not save chat from the game. So there may be some yapping going on between these players that we are not privy to. Some kind of support power possibly called in there. And aircraft carriers now noticing that Purple's base is basically undefended. So now TripleK and SillyOP and Zaid are going to be fighting against each other. Our first player out of the game, SillyOP, not so overpowered as it turns out. But now Zaid and TripleK are both going to be finding themselves in a very dangerous situation. GreenAlert forced to sell off, or somehow forced to lose that. Yeah, it didn't get captured. I'm not sure what happened to that super reactor, but it got shut down one way or the other, and GreenAlert in low power mode because of it will have to just move out his ground army, which is a lot of bullfrogs and not a whole lot else. Couple of tanks going to be targeting down that ore refinery. Dachi may be in danger, getting assaulted from dreadnoughts on one side from Grave, and GreenAlert's ground forces on the other side. Although, no, I guess GreenAlert decides to turn north just a little bit. Well, wants to kill that one Guardian tank before moving on. Shogun battleship encircling GreenAlert's base, and not at all like that last game. This is not a turrets-only kind of match from GreenAlert. This is a much more actively engaged game. TripleK in the north seems to be in the best position. 8.7k per minute. He may not have the biggest income, but he's got the most space, and no one is paying attention to him. GreenAlert is fighting Dachi and Zaid at the same time as these Tengus push back the bears, and the chopper VXs make the dance with the bullfrogs, trying to kill the hammer tanks without getting eliminated by those froggy boys on the ground. Tengus step forward. They've cleaned up all of the infantry. The hammer tanks get headed to the front line, but that's going to be a death sentence versus these chopper VXs. And the bullfrogs get a couple of kills, but that's pretty much it. Dachi getting double teamed in the south. GreenAlert kind of double teaming himself as he picks a fight with 2 players at the same time. EMPs will shut down these dreadnoughts, but what is your plan to actually kill them off? The Assault Destroyer goes down, and let's see if the dreadnoughts win or if the aircraft carriers can manage to land the shots. The dreadnoughts do miss. The aircraft carrier with a couple of those blasts. Drones getting trimmed by the bullfrogs, and it's a fight of the health bars. 1 dreadnought goes down, as does 1 aircraft carrier, and then switches targets to the walls as the hydrofoil's weapons jammer will be utilized to shut down that dreadnought and say goodnight as Dachi lives to fight another day. A couple of javelin soldiers inside of that riptide going to be causing havoc, and GreenAlert spreads out with sickles, fighting against everyone that he can, even though he's losing unit after unit, getting cut down by the superior forces of the Empire player. It looks like Zaid will reign supreme on one side, but it may be Dachi's better army that beats out the dreadnoughts on the other. Body block comes in, so there's going to be no easy kill of the vacuum imploder, and now these javelin soldiers are somewhat alone. Without the ability to escape easily on the riptide, this bear will be able to get off a magnificent roar and get the kill on the javs. That conscript just taking a couple of extra shots, trying to steal the glory from that roaring beauty, and instead of letting him get the kills. Well, GreenAlert is in a very difficult situation. Once again, TripleK on the north side of the map, just no one is paying attention to him. He has so much space, so much real estate in terms of expansion and land. He can do anything that he wants. Even GreenAlert trying to run his MCV to the other side of the map, trying to hide with 9 grand in the bank so that he can restart like it's the beginning of the match, and yet it just won't happen. EMP lands a shot from downtown, landing on that Wave Force artillery. Crusher Crane about to go down. I don't know, maybe you throw the Harvester in there as well. You get the extra $1,000, and not that he can do anything with it. The Conyard gets canceled. The Chronosphere and the Chrono Shot together will be stopping any expansion. And the Crusher Crane goes down, but the War Factory survives. So as long as there's a War Factory, there is a hope and an opportunity for GreenAlert to make a comeback. Shogun Battleship out on the battlefield. GreenAlert, he may be pretty much out of this game, but he is hoping that he can get the TripleK treatment where just no one pays any attention to him and he's allowed to build up however much he wants. TripleK, on the other hand, he's already built up as much as he wants. He's the current leader in total income per minute, and he has got a big army spread out on land and water to deal with his opponents. Dreadnoughts slowly making their way forward. Stingrays, bullfrogs. The dreadnoughts may lose versus the aircraft carrier, but when you've got bullfrogs and stingrays, everything it loses to that. Aircraft carrier, one single lonely guy is not going to be enough versus everything that Grave 99 has. Aircraft carriers, on the other hand, firing those EMP missiles to lock down units anywhere on the map, it seems. I think TripleK is exploiting a bug there to fire the EMP missiles farther than they should be able to go normally. MCV rebuild actually did happen. GreenAlert managed to get that out in time. And the vacuum imploder is ready to go. It wasn't targeted down by those javelins earlier in the game, and it gets called in somewhere. On the base, on the MCV of Dachi. Dachi losing his MCV. He's still got his War Factory, and he only has 1 grand in the bank, but he does have a refinery, so he could get a Harvester back online, sell off some wall segments if he has to. The Harvester slowly gets him the 5 grand that he needs, and this might be the saddest fight of the game. Two Mirage tanks. Are they just not going to fight? Okay, I thought they were going to try and kill the MCV, and the MCV was going to try and crush them. And as long as the Mirage tanks keep moving, they'll win that fight. But of course, the MCV, it looks like, I guess, is just going to go out onto the water, where the Mirage tanks cannot find him. 2 Mirage tanks now going to be looking for a target, and Daki has not rebuilt anything just yet. I guess he does have the oil derrick, so he can't always use that. Psionic Decimator is also ready to go. I think Shogun battleships or V4s, yeah, dreadnoughts are now going to be targeting the main base of Daki and perhaps just called off. Fresh Tesla coil. All right, not easy for Mirage tanks to deal with an active base. Tengu's getting some vision. They will get cut down by those Apollos. And the Psionic Decimator on top of the aircraft carriers, it may have sunk 1 or 2, but the rest managed to escape. You've slowed down the army of TripleK, but you have not stopped it. GreenAlert trying to expand further and further into the middle of the map where he can't be attacked as easily by the naval forces of his opponents. Mirage tank making its way back down south. The War Factory perhaps now being targeted. And the refinery and the War Factory, not a lot of targets left for Daki. So it looks like Grave will, or not Grave, Zaid will eventually find the spot to kill. Stingrays. The Shogun battleships may not have the immediate numbers, but Zaid has the economy to put out a lot more units than Grave does. Zaid has just about double the income per minute. But again, this does buy some time for Daki. As long as Daki has that oil derrick, he's always got a little bit of income. As little as it may be, as small as his income might be, he's still got just a little bit more. And never mind, Daki has been defeated. And then there were 4. GreenAlert holding out against all odds, holding out hope that he can somehow make this happen. Bullfrogs are here. Engineer will be barely too late to save the MCV. And now the Crusher Crane is the next target. As long as there's a War Factory, the comeback potential is here. And the Crane goes down as well. Did he actually? He lost the War Factory, so that is it. GreenAlert is basically out. He has a barracks, he has an oil derrick and a refinery and a super reactor, so the lights won't be going out. And I guess he can produce quite a few infantry, but that'll be pretty much it. And once again, the scrappy naval forces of Grave win out against an opponent. TripleK in the north, Grave in the middle, and Zaid in the south. Zaid has the better income, but Zaid may be more worried about TripleK than he is about Grave, so Grave may be getting an opportunity here. GreenAlert tried to steal an MCV! Hope springs eternal. Bullfrogs and engineers. Oh, he should have captured that Empire refinery with an engineer. He's actually got the engineer right there, left over from the MCV. He could have gone for it. Roar comes in, and the bear will eventually just kill off that Imperial Warrior. Tengu! Okay, get inside the Bullfrog. Tengu's showing up. There's a lot of flak troopers. They need to cluster around the Tesla coil, perhaps, to be able to deal with these Tengus. Nope. Tengus don't actually all attack, so only 2 Tengus attacked, and 2 Tengus were dealt with. Massive overcharge comes in, but the Shogun battleship does survive. Why is there only like 2 Shogun battleships? I feel like you should probably be calling in a few more of them. Well, that Shogun battleship is not having a good time, not firing his guns, and also not able to kill off any of these Stingrays. Well, that was a bizarre choice of 2 Shogun battleships. No Yari mini-subs, no Naganatas, no even like Sea-Wings or anything in the sky. You know, no single Chopper VX to deal with all of this stuff. Just 2 Shogun battleships not firing their main guns, not trying to engage at a distance. And that will be the end of the Shogun battleships, but it is not the end of this game. TripleK with 16K per minute. has just a massive income advantage over everyone else. Zaid is the next closest at 11k per minute. And we'll see what he's able to do. No Chronosphere is honestly a pretty big detriment to TripleK. He should get out of Chronosphere. He should get out of Proton Collider. But the Chronosphere is so useful in dealing with units like Shogun battleships. You just teleport a couple of them onto land, and you can instantly remove that threat from your front door. Vacuum Imploder is ready to go. It fires off in the north. It finds a cluster of Mirage tanks, and that is a lot of cash back as well. Grave just found himself with a big boost in income, wiping out the army of his opponent. The ground army gets cleaned out, and the barracks did go down, which means the production is now gone, but another barracks has been claimed. Are you kidding me? He claims an Empire barracks, and now if he can just get an allied building, that will be the real triple threat. Chopper VXs do find the barracks, and many engineers have been produced by GreenAlert. He sticks them inside of bullfrogs, and GreenAlert is managing to win perhaps the hearts and the minds, even if he is not winning the actual game. Tango gets sniped. That's a lot of cryocopters. It is difficult to do anything versus that many cryocopters. You take down 4 or 5 of them, and he still has incredible stopping power for any army to freeze it, lock it in place. And that's the thing with cryocopters, is even if you don't kill the units, you can still freeze them in place, and they just don't do anything. Fully heroic Shogun battleship, useless, as it is frozen in place, doing nothing. Bear making its way out. 2 bullfrogs, both of them fully heroic as well, so they get those heals. They boosted units. All right, Zaid, he's got his psionic decimator ready to go. Dreadnoughts. Okay, so there is sort of an unholy alliance forming. We do have Zaid and Grave sort of realizing that perhaps they need each other, and the enemy of my enemy is my friend. As it turns out, Apollo does go down. Shogun battleships trying to contend with the aircraft carriers. Magmageddon will be firing off. TripleK moving out into the middle of the map, trying to attack Grave. Grave's dreadnoughts are working away at the base of TripleK, and TripleK says, okay, let's take things over the land route and see how you handle that. The expansion gets splashed down into the ground, just destroyed, as 14 grand still in that ore mine. And the flood of units is here. Chronosphere and Proton Collider both finishing up for TripleK, as he is did he put them in the corner? No, that's just a fresh MCV with a couple of power plants. A little bit of an insurance policy from TripleK. And difficult to deal with in an army of this size. The Magmageddon may be annoying, but cryocopters can just keep on freezing all over the place. Tesla coils getting some pretty massive damage done. Honestly, they're clearing out a lot of the tanks, but the problem is, of course, there's just more and more and more behind that. If this is a toxin drop, that could be killer to these infantry. It won't stop the Athena cannons. And it does nothing. It does zone them out. And, well, that it can be an effective tool, but of course the Athena cannons do still find some damage. Dreadnoughts managing to find something. And we've got our first sub of the day coming in. Big thanks to Hibicon Bomb. That's not a name that I was expecting to see. Final squadron gets called in. Athena cannons closing in on this base. Grave can actually sustain a couple of more shots coming in, and the corner has actually been discovered. In the corner of the map, there was a hidden base, but it is not so hidden anymore. Bullfrog's getting massive damage out, and eventually the freeze comes through for all of these units and shuts down that army. Athena cannons slowly working through this base, and fortunately for Grave, he's got more than one MCV, he's got more than one build queue spread around the map. TripleK creating quite a lot of space, but a big thanks to Hibbenkan Bomb for subscribing. That does add another 0.5 game. 2 subs equals 1 game at this point in the stream. So we will be close to adding another game and resetting the count back up to, well, I guess it'll be 2 at the end of this game. But back up to 3 where we started with. Tengus go for the transform. 1 chopper VX. Not a lot of damage, but if you don't have anything to deal with it, the cryocopters! What? Cryocopters just come in! 8 or so cryocopters shredded by that guy. And 5 community gifted subs. So Hibbenkan Bomb bringing 6 subs for 3 additional games, which will take our count up to 4 at the end of this match. And I'm now realizing one of the downsides with this is I can't update the number in between the games. So it really should say 5 games remaining at this point, and then at the end of this it'll say 4 games remaining. But we may be in this one for a minute. Huge thanks to Hibbenkan Bomb for being the first subscriber of the day, hitting us with 6 subs, 5 gifted subs for the community, and then 1 for himself, adding a total of 3 games on to the subathon. And at some point, GreenAlert has been defeated, so then there were 3. And okay, we're back in it. Big thanks to you, Hibbenkan Bomb, which I'm probably not saying that name correctly. As the toxins come in, they don't trap much, but they do get a couple of extra jabs, a couple of extra peacekeepers who run into them. And unfortunately for these allied infantry units, they are just being sacrificed needlessly, because when you've got 258,000 total resources gathered, well, you can easily forget about a couple of extra units. High bacon bomb. The hydrogen bomb, but the high bacon bomb equivalent of it. And it's mass stingrays in the north. TripleK having a comfy position for so long, but has been unable to decisively defeat any of his primary opponents. TripleK, the Allies, Grave 99 of the Soviets, and Zaid, the Empire, now all in pretty comfortable positions, all things considered. At various points, TripleK was maybe the strongest, but the least active on the map, and Zaid was maybe the most active on the map, but didn't have the best footing. And now they're kind of all in pretty good positions with different quadrants of the map under their control. Now that half of the players are gone, there's quite a bit of cash available to all 3 remaining players. Vacuum imploder fires off somewhere on the map. It's going to be explosive. I'm not sure where. He must have landed on a bunch of power plants as the power is offline. And he missed this opportunity to clean out that army. Or perhaps he cleaned up a section of the Empire forces. Zaid finds himself with an army of Tengus, but a lot of stuff that is pretty resistant to Tengus. Like, Tengus can kill off buildings, but it just takes them a little while. Although this 1 chopper VX finding 3 or 4 transitioning Athena cannons, transferring from one location to another, and the Unholy Alliance continues as Grave goes on the attack against TripleK. So does Zaid, and the Chronosphere is ready, but so is the Psionic Decimator as it fires off in the middle of the base. The naval forces decimated as the Psionic Decimator clears out a couple of buildings, but The Assault Destroyers come back online. The EMP wears off. And actually, as it turns out, Graves' Navy was not that powerful. As soon as everything came back online, there actually wasn't very much happening. Tengu's standing up for a moment, and it looks like the War Factory or something going down there. I think that might have actually been the Tengu's exploding to the Athena cannon as the final squadron gets called in. And the Assault Destroyers standing tall for now. Where are the Dreadnoughts, though? I feel like there should be quite a few Dreadnoughts, and that can be what actually starts picking apart this base. Final squadron called in. MCV extremely low on health. Nearly dead, but still alive. Is there an engineer anywhere nearby to actually jump inside and save that MCV? I feel like there's at least another one MCV out on the map, so it's not the end of the world. Both of those buildings low health and not repaired. Not actually sure why TripleK isn't activating repairs on some of these buildings. Could potentially cut some of this unit production to get those buildings back up to full health. Is Grave actually the strongest player in this game? Like, he doesn't necessarily look at it just by looking at the map, but when you consider all of the Dreadnoughts that he has, the MCVs, which when you can crush down those MCVs for some Crusher Crane action a little bit later in the game. Tengu's coming in. They shred those cryocopters. Man, that was so many cryocopters that got shredded earlier in this game. Possibly 18 grand worth of cryocopters just being eliminated, and it's come down to it. The commando is finally headed out. Eureka Omega, sometimes a way to bust open a game, as this Athena cannon may be heroic, but she is going to be going down. And Eureka on the other side of the map is going to be perhaps assisted by some Shogun battleships. Magmageddon gets called in. Tankbuster Surprise gets eliminated. All of them frozen down immediately. But that's the Magmageddon taken off the table for a couple of minutes. And Eureka can go and clean up a couple of refiners. No, I guess only one refinery. But start to rank up by killing off the refinery and the harvester. Kill off another cryocopter perhaps as well. Cryocopter goes down. Multi-gunner turret might get the kill there. Just another shot was needed. And the precision bomber may get her just enough splash damage to kill off Eureka. Triple airfield as the 30-minute play into Mass Mig, Mass Bullfrog, Mass Twin Blade, as TripleK for a long time has looked powerful, but not so much anymore. His Proton Collider brings down 2 refineries, but it doesn't stop that Tier 3 Mecha Bay. And the satellite drop will light up those super weapons. They go down, and TripleK looked the most impressive early on, but the unholy alliance of Empire and Soviets means that it might be lights out for TripleK, although in an FFA, never underestimate the ability of just escaping from notice. TripleK built up to be a powerhouse player just because nobody attacked him for the first 10 or 15 minutes of the game. He escaped notice, and that was the winning play. Just be a sleepy boy and don't worry about anything else. What just got called in there? Toxin drop, perhaps? Okay, then. Yeah, the toxin drop, I assume, is not affected by the black hole armor. That would actually be kind of wild if it was. If the black hole armor was just drawing those toxins in from the ground passively. And 40 seconds, or 50 seconds on the clock for that vacuum imploder ready to go. Weapons Jammer is good, but it really only works if you have something to actually kill the units, or weapons jam all of them. Black hole armor helping to absorb some of the damage from the Shogun battleships. The rest of the assault destroyers are showing up, and eventually the assault destroyers will go down to the Shogun battleships unless they can actually start cutting them down. Tengus get the kill on those cryocopters, but the Apollos will shred the Tengus nice and easy. The Shogun battleships, I feel like, should be outgunned by the assault destroyers, but 3 or 4 assault destroyers have gone down to the battleship ram of the Shogun battleships, so they haven't actually needed to fight them directly, and now the rest of the assault destroyers get cleaned up by the other 2 Shogun battleships, neither of which died in that fight. The assault destroyers closed the distance, but weren't able to actually kill any of the units. And now TripleK finds himself in a dangerous position. His MCV running from the north to the south. Shogun battleships slicing and dicing the rest of his base. And I think my money is still on Grave with the massive twin blade army, with the dreadnoughts in waiting, and with the just like very patient attitude of wait and see. First, it was TripleK who was here to escape notice, and then it was Grave who went on the attack and then backed off and said, you know what? I'm going to just wait. And that has benefited him greatly, because now TripleK is basically dead. Oh, the true unholy alliance would be the Vacuum Imploder and the Psionic Decimator both being activated on this MCV to knock it down. And, a couple of twin blades coming over could do the same thing. The Apollos won't last forever versus the twin blades, the MiGs, and the Bullfrogs. But that MCV would go down regardless. 2 super weapons ready to go. The 2 blue players are the only ones left, and they're about to come into conflict with each other. Rocket Angels on the move. These Rocket Angels might just get shredded by the Apollos, and that might be the end of the Rocket Angels. 1 Apollo will go down for sure. A second Apollo might... Nope, they're attacking 1 by 1, so that's it. 1 Apollo went down, and 2 Apollos took a little bit of chip damage. Shogun battleships finally meeting their match. The Stingray, the mighty Stingray, killing 3 heroic Shogun battleships. Well, with the help of a Terror drone as well. They actually didn't finish off one of these low-health Shoguns in the north, so it'll be up to the Terror drone to get a 3-way infect going from one to the next to the next. And the Shoguns may... Did they mess up the firing sequence? Yeah, that's a fully heroic Terror drone. And the shots go wide. The Terror drone not given another attack command. He could have gone for the infect. And no, they're now distracted shooting at the MCV. Okay, finally, the Terror drone goes down. Whew. And the Shogun battleships do survive for now. MCV gets sold off. And Zaid has this Magnetic Singularity on top of the Tank Buster Surprise. Good night to the Tank Busters as the Magnetic Singularity claims their souls. Expansion in the north. Zaid spots it. He also, I think, spots that Akula sub lurking. Twin Blade. Is this just a Twin Blade? No engineer or anything inside of it? And it's going to be a satellite drop on top of the Mecha Bay. Forces the sell-off of the Tier 3 Mecha Bay. And now forces the sell-off of the Nanotech mainframe. Tengu gets the kill, and this would be a prime spot for the Psionic Decimator. But where do you even fire the Vacuum Imploder? I guess on top of the Naval Yard. Try and damage it, and then if you have the satellite drop, you could follow it up to make sure you get the guaranteed kill. Or if you do that, you might want to hit the Psionic Decimator and then drop the satellite on it afterwards. I'm not really sure what the best option is for the Vacuum Imploder. I mean, again, the Twin Blades would be an amazing target for the Vacuum Imploder, just absolutely smashing like 20, 30 grand worth of Twin Blades. Another Mecha Bay has been spotted. No super weapons utilized just yet. And TripleK is trying to escape notice once again, hoping that he can just keep things rolling by avoiding interest. Flak Cannon gets the kill. The transform of that Tengu doesn't manage to save it. Final squadron called in. A couple of Bullfrogs may be going down, but the Shogun battleship will fall to the Stingray. And that is going to be an Admiral Stingray coming in over there. Vacuum Imploder called in. Sonic Decimator. Vacuum Imploder. Did he hit the... Oh, did he... Oh, he knocked down TripleK. He fires off his vacuum imploder at TripleK's MCV. That's actually pretty funny. TripleK, moved his MCV up north. So that was maybe not the best use of a vacuum imploder that we've ever seen. But it did something, I guess. And now the Twin Blades and the MiGs are going to fly over the rest of the map. And the MiGs can deal with the Tengus without too much trouble. You could lose half of these Twin Blades, and it would still be an impressive number of Twin Blades. So have no fear as the Sonic Decimator fires off as well, blasting something. I don't actually know. What did he even launch it at? Did he try to hit the Twin Blades and miss, or did he nuke some other section of the map? The Twin Blades are a massive problem for any player to deal with. And, well, the power plants are going to be going down one by one. Naval Yard also a pretty good target. Tier 3 Naval Yard, able to kill that off pretty quickly. And Sonic Decimator may be the next target for all of these Twin Blades, especially since it has 5 minutes until it's going to be utilized again, so there's no worry about clumping up. Zaid has survived for oh so long, but it may not be too much longer. Does Zaid have an MCV somewhere? Yes! Everyone's MCV has escaped notice so far. Flak Cannon pops off on a couple of those Rocket Angels. Rocket Angels may be able to rank up just killing off Dreadnoughts that are sitting there doing nothing. Bullfrogs show up. 1 down, 2 down, and the third trying to escape over land, trying to escape over the mountains and the terrain changes of the map. The Bullfrogs in hot pursuit, but they do give up eventually. The MiGs may be the next target, as the MiGs may be able to find the kill. Twin Blades moving in. OMG Sybert, we miss you. I'm right here. I'm right here, Cookie Catton. Live before your eyes, casting subscriber replays from the archive. 3 MiGs, or 3 Apollos versus all these MiGs. And Apollos may be better most days of the week, but today is Wednesday, and the MiGs win on Wednesday. Twin Blades, they are the unit of Red Alert 3. Are Twin Blades the most iconic unit of Red Alert 3? Perhaps they should be. Grave 99, employing the greatest FFA tactic of all time, please don't notice me, as he finds the MCV of his opponent, the double barracks as well. The damage is coming down. Zaid fought well, but in the end, it doesn't really matter. TripleK, Zaid, and Grave 99, the big 3 of this game, and TripleK will tap out. Grave is your victor. This is a Russian enterprise. It may be, with how good Twin Blades are. They are sort of the ultimate spam unit, and even in 1v1s, we see them often enough. I mean, in 1v1s, they tend to be a little bit more, you know, smaller in number and more varied in unit composition, but they're still an incredibly powerful unit. All right, welcome. After some 6-player games, we have got ourselves a 1v1. Fire Island is the name of the game, and Fire Island is the location because we have, spawning in the north, is the Red Empire. This is SuperPower. And meanwhile, in the south, as the Blue Soviets, this is Flode. I believe the full name is Flode into, but right now it is Flode. I know, I'm realizing I just left on the wrong UI. So there we go. Now we've got the correct one up and running. Fire Island is the map, but we've got ourselves a 1v1 to kick off the non-6-player games with. Favorite Red Alert 3 mod. I mean, it would have to be General's Evolution. That is super fun mod. Very, very goofy. Not like a, you know, great. Were those flak troopers supposed to be inside the walls? I think those flak troopers were supposed to be in the walls. As Flode into, not quite landing those positions just yet. But yeah, I think my favorite mod would have to be General's Evolution. I've heard that Corona is quite good. I tried to get Corona mod up and running 2 or 3 years ago when it had first launched, and I couldn't get it working. I have been meaning to check it out since then, but I have been unable to check it out since then. Double Oil Derrick does get captured by SuperPower. So SuperPower is going to have that nice eco boost right from the beginning. He gets the cash back on the engineers, starts paying for that double barracks opening as well. Scouting with the Imperial Warrior also. And it looks like at least one of these oil derricks is not going to be reclaimed. Maybe Flode into will go for the other one. It's straight into a super reactor, and the hammer tank is now out. All of this is spotted by SuperPower, so SuperPower has perfect information on what is going on in this game. Is going to be losing this oil derrick, it seems. Tengu out on the harass. What mod has huge big ships? That might be Red Alert 3 Corona, which has quite a few gigantic units in it. And then another mod that's fun but isn't really a mod is Upheaval, which brings the uprising units into Red Alert 3 so you can play multiplayer with it, which is fun and a cool concept, but obviously it's pretty busted in terms of balance. It's not always good for a competitive match, but it's good to just goof around with friends if you want to have some of those uprising units at your disposal. Eventually, this oil derrick will go down. So much debris being spawned in by that model, and a little bit of cash back there for the Soviet player as well. So SuperPower, not the only one getting cash back here in the game. Mecha is up to tier 2, so both players are sitting comfortably on that tier 2 production. And you always wish Uprising had multiplayer. I can definitely understand why they didn't add Uprising multiplayer when you have Tib Wars into Kane's Wrath, and then you have Red Alert 3 into Uprising. Kane's Wrath was very much an expansion and like a deepening of Tib Wars, and it made it more competitive, more interesting, more engaging to watch. And then Uprising was just pure chaos. So I can kind of understand why they didn't want to spend the resources to develop multiplayer and, you know, try and have a whole separate set of balance for multiplayer. Engineer gets the cap, by the way. Tsunami Tank going for the crush, but not quite managing to do it. But yeah, it would have been nice if they had included multiplayer as well in Uprising. But, oh well. Airfield coming up. I always like to see a quick airfield from a Soviet player. 4 minutes and 45 seconds isn't particularly fast as an airfield, but it's a very normal timing for an airfield. Double Terror Drone going to be going for the lockdown on all of these tsunami tanks. Really nicely handled by Flode into. The only real problem is that he doesn't have more units to actually get the kills. So the Terror Drones are forced to infect both of those Tengus, get the kill on them, even if it's just forcing those tsunami tanks to get the kill. But the hammer tank has already gone down, and there's no reinforcements rolling in for Flode into. So the delay tactic has run out of time to delay anything in this moment. Sudden Transport going for the recap of the oil derrick. The engineer going to be trading hands of that oil derrick once again. Hammer tanks finally showing up. Bullfrog as here in case there's any Chopper VXs or Tengus that try to show up. And the Sudden Transport goes to try and save them, but it just doesn't quite work out. Chopper VX is going to be getting a couple of blasts off at that Twin Blade, and 3 hammer tanks versus 4 tsunami tanks. You bet on the Empire player in that, but the leech beams do allow the Soviet player to engage from a longer distance. So in that case, sometimes it is the Soviet player who ends up winning out. Both players pretty comfortable in terms of economy. They're sitting on that 3 and 4 refineries for the Soviet player. At least very soon it will be 4 refineries. And now that both oil derricks are actually gone, destroyed from the map, their economy is going to level out around the same place until that 4th refinery comes online. Fortune's Chaos raiding with a party of 25. Big thank you to you for the raid. We are checking out some Red Alert 3 games, but we are going to be jumping into Kane's Wrath in just a minute. It's a big day of subscriber replays here on the stream, and so we're going to be checking out some Red Alert 3, jumping over to Kane's Wrath, and then coming back to Red Alert 3 and swapping between the two games throughout the day. Toxin's coming in, going to be sending that Harvester off of its target. Tengu does not find the kill there on the Twin Blade. Forced down to the ground. The Chopper VX is forced into the sky. Terror Drone runs deep onto enemy territory. He could get the naval yard. Oh, that opportunity has lost it. And the Hammer Tank is going to be trying to escape from the wrath of the Tsunami Tanks. Point defense drones plus Tsunami Tanks are a formidable opponent for a couple of Hammer Tanks to try and deal with. Terror Drone not able to grab any of these strikers. One of the strikers could have potentially been locked down there and forced SuperPower to reposition his units. Almost. That naval yard kill would have been brutal for SuperPower to deal with. With the Mega Bay being all the way back there, he would not have been able to drive the core back there in time. And instead, that Terror Drone would have got the insta-kill, basically, on this naval yard, which would have then opened up this refinery for even more harassment. MCV moves to the north, but it gets spotted pretty much immediately. Tengu going to be keeping eyes on the naval expansion, and it's a sell-off. It's a full-on sale. The Tsunami Tanks plus the Strikers mean that MCV just says, I am done for, so you might as well get as much cash as you possibly can. The engineer does get sniped on the ground. Not that he was going to be able to do very much anyways. Maybe he gets the observation post. Maybe he tries to sneak into the back door somewhere. What is that bullfrog doing here? Fortunately, there is a crusher crane somewhere out on the map. That means the build isn't dead for the Soviet player. And instead, it will be the Tengu that goes down there on the ground. Flode at 5.7k, sitting on that comfy 4 refineries, but SuperPower is about to match that with his own naval expansion. Twin Blades coming in. Harvester under threat. Nope. Doesn't actually get the Harvester. Loses a Twin Blade. Tengu does go down. The engagement's getting messy here as both players fighting over very little surface area between their two bases. With the MCV, this stalls out any positioning play of the Soviet player. There's no easy way to move the MCV into the middle of the map and try and throw down base defenses or try to get another angle in. Tsunami Tank is here on guard. Twin Blade Bullfrog, it's a powerful unit combination for a reason. One striker pops out at just the right time. We'll be able to take down one of the Twin Blades, but the other two do survive. Ever on the run, hoping to outrun their opponent and outgun their opponent as well. One random Shinobi on the north side of the map, perhaps looking to take the radar offline for a minute. That's some infantry out open and exposed. The Twin Blades will trade their lives for them as those strikers go down. 2 or 3 harvesters eliminated in that run of those Twin Blades. So that actually was worth it for the Soviet player. SuperPower taking some big economic damage, and it looks like it's going to be even more. If he doesn't shut down this V4, then he just wasted the cash on the rebuild of that harvester. Where are the Bullfrogs? Where are the MiGs? Something in the sky to deal with these strikers. Terror Drone going to be locking down 1 or 2 of these tanks. The refinery goes down. The harvester is out of a job, and the tanks grabbing extra guns as their leech beams pull them off of those dead Tsunami tanks. SuperPower doing fine, but slowly and surely Flode into has been building up a bigger and better army. We saw him going for the tier 3 shortly after his MCV got knocked down, and now he drops the V4 on the front door and follows it up with the hammer tank. Suddenly, SuperPower is left fighting from behind. The MCV is going to come onto the front line. 2 Tsunami tanks behind that, trying to hope to survive. And the MCV going to unpack again. Tsunami tank number 1 goes down. Chopper VX is trying to find the new position to engage with this fight. Maybe they could go out over the water. They might just have to sacrifice themselves because the MCV is about to go down, and that might just be the end of the tech tree here for the Empire player. Everything being thrown in on one big attack. Bullfrogs go down. Hammer tanks on the ground, now undefended. They may be able to kill the tsunami tanks, but they themselves will die to the power in the sky. The Chopper VXs clear the ground, and SuperPower trades his MCV for the win on the ground. But the skies are not the control of SuperPower alone as the Kirov comes in. No MCV, no Mecha Bay. It's all about the Navy, baby, as SuperPower has that as his only option left in this game. Everything can be rebuilt, but do you want to take the time to rebuild when your opponent doesn't have to? Twin Blades are the switch up. Over the water, are the Sea Wings still here? Yes, the Sea Wings are still here. They are not flying over the ground. If they were Sky Wings, there was maybe an opportunity to kill off the naval yard. It's low power mode, so the production is going to be extremely slow. Twin Blades managing to cut down one of the tsunami tanks, but they trade out their lives for it. The Crusher Crane keeping hope alive for the Soviet player. I feel like you got to rebuild that ground army. The MCV will come out eventually, but you've got a couple of minutes here where you are in total control. The 4 refineries working away for the Soviet player, and Flode into, instead of trying to end the game right away, might just need to kind of sit back, relax, and just take it easy. We need to tariff the Japanese team. Brother, the Japanese team just got blasted in every direction. I don't know that they need to tariff anything. He's got his own power tariff going on right now. Yari mini-sub scoots in around the edge. Oh, a couple of strikers find the angle on the War Factory, and they're going to be able to shut that down. The Bullfrog's completely out of position, and the War Factory goes down. The frontline production evaporates, and utilizing the terrain of the map, I think SuperPower has bought enough time. The MCV's so close to finishing. He's had an excess of money this entire time. It has been the low power mode, the slow production from that naval yard that has been causing the problem here for SuperPower. And the economy can't even get back online because SuperPower just lost another harvester. A power plant as well means that it's going to be an even longer low power mode. SuperPower has just enough units that the Soviet player cannot just kill him off easily. Although this 1v4, these tsunami tanks need to just go up there. There's nothing there defending that V4. Strikers pushing away the Twin Blades on the south. And this V4 may get the last shot before it dies. Oh! It probably would have survived, but then the Twin Blades would have been able to come in. Bullfrogs trying to keep the Twin Blades safe, but it's really the Chopper VXs on the ground that are the big threat of the Bullfrogs. And is it worth going naval yard? Where did this other V4 even come from? The naval yard getting targeted. One final rocket will smash into it. Down below 50% HP. And this is where you got to ask yourself, is it worth it to, say, sacrifice all of your Twin Blades to get the kill on that naval yard? Most of the time, the answer is no. Most of the time, it's better to wait with the army. But occasionally, it is better to sacrifice the army and send it in for one big move. Strikers need to be distracted for the Kirov to get into position. A fresh MCV is now out. Not as essential for the Soviet player who's been sitting on 4 refineries, a full tech tree, and a crusher crane. But if you want to take those expansions more easily, other than going for a Sputnik, then you need that MCV for that backup plan. I guess you also do need the MCVs for the support power. If you want to be utilizing those support powers, you got to have that MCV out as well. So we should be seeing like satellite drop or toxin drop or something coming in from these like banked up support powers that the Soviet player has been wielding. War Factory and Barracks both on the front line. Airfield here as well. Expansion up in the corner. Fresh refinery, 30 grand available in that ore node. Meanwhile, SuperPower is retaking a refinery location with only 10 grand left in it. Conscript gets sniped. One Imperial Warrior, a scout in the south. Those Sea Wings doing a lot of work just to keep things stable. I am worried about this Kirov. This Kirov might be the game ender. It is taking the longest route to get into this base. But again, as long as the Chopper VXs, the strikers, are not able to get at it from the ground... Ooh, this could be an opportunity. Do the Bullfrogs spot it? No, they don't. Okay, the Chopper VXs turned around in time. That could have been lights out. If those Chopper VXs went a little bit too far, they had just transformed, so they wouldn't be able to transform immediately to get out of the Bullfrog's gun range. And it's going to be a naval yard. Akula subs are a great way to try and break this naval blockade that SuperPower has out on the water. Flode into, he's played this one slow and steady. He had an advantage. He had, oh, this is bad. You need those Sea Wings out in the sea. You need those Sky Wings out in the sea so that they can stop this Kirov, which is aiming for your base. Toxins on the dojo, going to be stopping it from participating in any kind of fight. Hammer Tank's going to be trying to fight against these tsunamis, but with the Tank Buster here, there isn't really much hope for the Hammer Tanks unless they actually start getting the crush on. 3 Hammer Tanks versus 3 tsunamis plus a Tank Buster. Yeah, the blue dot is closing in. The Kirov that we've been watching come from long ways away is finally here. Get those boys down in the water. And he's ignoring the MCV. He's dropping his bombs now. And the refinery will be the first thing to go down to a watery grave. The Sea Wings transform from the sky down to the water, but it's a little too late. Why even go for the power plant? Get the MCV, the refinery, and the naval yard. At this point, the Mecha Bay has been rebuilt, so it's not as big of a deal. Why did he not kill the MCV? It was absolutely free there, and then the naval yard after that would have meant that the Mecha Bay was all that remained. But in this case, Flode into might be playing with his food a little bit too much. The Kirov that could dream, that may be the reality, but now the dream is dead. The Dreadnought completely undefended. Well, it may not be defended, but it is not able to die either, as the Dreadnought shows up as the basically entire naval base has been eliminated, and SuperPower finally is going to die. It might just be worth going for the A move, the QA move, and sending the whole army here, because there's nothing left. SuperPower has only 3 buildings, and then that is truly it, and he does not have the strength to bounce back at this point. Flode into has played very slow and steady, very cautiously this whole time, perhaps too cautiously, as playing with his food might be the accurate way to describe the way that he is making this game last a lot longer than it needs to. Bullfrogs getting jumped on. Twin Blades can just fly out over the water and kill the MCV. Akula subs as well. Ultra Torpedoes firing off. Whoa! 3 out of 4 miss. And, well, that's the danger with Ultra Torpedoes. Moments later, SuperPower has been defeated. That will be it for our first 1v1 of the day and our last Red Alert 3 game of the moment.